Oh man, state regime media known as Fox was losing it today right before this California Governor Gavin Newsom press conference. Fox posted Newsom trolling Donald Trump and saying how Donald Trump has the worst poll numbers ever. And Fox was just in a death spiral today. Here, let's watch this clip, play it.
Gavin Newsom is in on the act now, firing back at Trump about the redistricting. On X last night, Donald Trump, you see all the caps, right? Do you notice the style? You see what's going on here, right? Donald Trump, the lowest polling president in recent history. This is your second to last warning. The next one is the last one. Stand down now or California will counterstrike legally to destroy your illegal crooked maps in red states. Press conference coming, hosted by America's favorite governor, Gavin Newsom. Final warning next. You won't like it. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Then you had Maria Bartiromo this morning have to admit that the newest inflation data that came out this morning was a disaster for Donald Trump. He's tanking the economy. Inflation from wholesalers, domestic wholesalers, surged beyond anyone's even highest expectations. And Bartiromo had a total breakdown. Let's watch it. Let's play it.
Breaking news right now, and a spike in the producer price level of inflation. Take a look. Markets are selling off here because the July PPI came in up 0.9%, worse than the estimated up 0.2%. This is the headline number. It was expected up 0.2, came up 0.9%. Year over year, it is up 3.3% versus an estimate of up 2.5%. Now, when you look at core, it's also troubling because in the core PPI, it was up 0.9% versus an estimate of 0.2%. Year over year, the core up 3.7%, also higher than the estimated expectation, which was up 2.9%. These numbers have caused markets to drop. The Dow Industrial is down 105, the Nasdaq down 71, and the S&P 500 lower by 19. We want to take a look at producer prices with the Transportation Secretary. Sean Duffy will be here to talk about other things like the modernization of the FAA, as well as the investment in space, where we're going to start off with getting his expectation and reaction to a spike in producer prices. We'll be right back.
And then Bartiromo, you can tell, was actually getting pissed because she's doing her best. She's state regime media. She's trying to help the regime, trying to help Trump, but they just keep on making her say the dumbest and biggest lies. So when she has Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on, she's like, all right, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, you told us that there would be deadlines against Russia. Donald Trump keeps breaking his own deadline. So what's happening here? What can we expect? Here, play this clip.
Secretary, I mean, look, you stated that sanctions on Russia can go up or they can be loosened depending on the outcome of this meeting between the president and Putin. But look, President Trump allowed his own self-imposed deadline to pass without doubling down on those sanctions on Russia. Why? Did he want to go into this meeting without the pressure of knowing that he just put these, doubling down on the sanctions? Because, the president was very clear. He said he's giving Putin 50 days until a ceasefire. Then he came out, he said it's 10 days away. He had a deadline of last Friday, but it came and went.
Well, Maria, two things. He brought the deadline back from 50 to 10, and it didn't come and go because we put the secondary tariffs on India. So he's created leverage there. And I think that he's shown President Putin what's in store if things don't go well in Alaska.
So
Scott Bessent's the worst. It's like, well, I just think that we did do sanctions on India. Okay, you're bragging about your sanctions on India. I could go back, Bessent, and play you 100 clips where you and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said that India was going to be the first deal, great deals with India. You love negotiating with India, and now you're bragging about the sanctions against India. Well played, Bessent. And then Bartiromo presses Bessent even more. She's like, we have your friends coming on the show, and even your own friends, even your Wall Street oligarch buds, they're worried that you keep on attacking the chairman of the Federal Reserve. It's not helping the economy. You're causing pain. Even Fox had to have this stunning admission. Here, play this clip.
But, Mr. Secretary, I've got to ask you about the Federal Reserve because you're calling on the Fed to start cutting interest rates. You suggested the other day that the benchmark should be at least 1.5 points lower than it is right now. Fox Business has been reporting that you're leading the interviews with the potential Fed chair candidates. But we just had Jason Trennert on a moment ago, and I know he's a friend of yours, and he came close to working with you at the Treasury. But even he, being a supporter of yours, raised a red flag about the sitting Treasury Secretary telling the Federal Reserve that they need to be cutting rates by 1.5 points. Do you find this unusual, that you find yourself in a position of telling the Fed what to do?
Couple of things, Maria. I didn't tell the Fed what to do. What I said was that to get to a neutral rate on interest, that would be approximately 150 basis point cut. I did not call for them to get there. The other thing that I said was that perhaps because they had bad BLS data in June and July, that perhaps a 50 basis point cut in September was warranted.
Yeah. And do you believe that at this point we are ready to see a 0.5 point cut, given the fact that they've been so late in terms of doing 25 basis point cuts all this time?
Well, crawl, walk, run. Perhaps they'll start with 25 and then accelerate. I can tell you that based on the 50 basis point cut in the September of 2024, right before the election, that the conditions now are slightly more favorable for a cut.
Okay, so then you bring on Donald Trump's chief propagandist, Caroline Leavitt, pink dress lady, right? She's like North Korea's pink dress lady, right? So she goes on Fox, and then she's like, look, I just want, there's not going to be any deals or ceasefires with Russia. She's like, but we stopped most of the wars around the world. We stopped most of the wars. Here, play this clip.
Some of the people in liberal media and liberal circles, people that the president fired, said that the president is going to be embarrassed by Putin. Speak to that. What does the president walk out of a meeting? We know who he is. I'm sure he's not going to tolerate disrespect from Putin, even though he wants peace, right?
Well, Lawrence, you're being very kind, and I won't be so kind, and I'll just name some of those people, such as John Bolton, who I think has made a disgrace of himself on television and in the newspapers, claiming that he knows better than President Trump. No, he doesn't, and neither do any of these so-called foreign policy experts who have never solved a foreign policy conflict in their lives. Look at what this president has done in 6 months. He has stopped 7 global conflicts all around the world using the leverage of the United States of America to negotiate these conflicts to an end. You had the leaders of Azerbaijan and Armenia at the White House last week, both of whom said this would not have been possible without the leadership of President Trump and his administration. So the American people trust this president. That's why they overwhelmingly reelected him. And I think it's pathetic, some of the chatter that we see from these so-called experts who have zero accomplishments on their own resumes to point to. President Trump knows what he's doing. He has great instincts.
Okay, y'all literally promised that there would be an end to the war in Ukraine in 24 hours and an end to the war in Gaza in 24 hours. And now y'all created a bunch of wars and saying you deserve Nobel Peace Prize for stopping wars that like you're responsible for, or taking credit for things that you've had nothing to do with. By the way, one of the things they take credit for is we stopped the war with India and Pakistan. Sure you did. When India's foreign minister and prime minister think you had absolutely nothing to do with it. Now Caroline Leavitt says, look, at the end of the day, not sure we can do anything with Russia and Ukraine. It's highly complex. It was inherited by Joe Biden. She's trying to blame Biden, but she says inherited by Joe Biden. Here, play this clip.
This is a highly complex and brutal war that, again, inherited by Joe Biden. Russia did not invade Ukraine under President Trump. They invaded under Joe Biden because of his incompetence and his weakness. And this president is trying to solve it and bring it to an end. And he deserves great credit for that.
Switching gears for a moment to bring you some important news. The Trump administration is preparing to cancel $7 billion in solar energy grants aimed at helping low and middle income families go solar. That's right, $7 billion gone. This is just the latest escalation of the Trump regime's anti-climate agenda. The funding was part of President Biden's Solar for All program under the Inflation Reduction Act, designed not only to lower energy costs for working families, but to expand community solar projects, bringing clean power to renters and people who can't install panels themselves. Now, the EPA, under Trump, is drafting letters to revoke those funds from 60 nonprofits and state agencies, even in red states that had already started projects. As a reminder, red states disproportionately benefit from this funding. It would not only be bad for the environment to take it away, but also devastating for jobs. This comes on top of Trump's efforts to claw back $20 billion more in clean energy funding, triggering legal battles and chaos involving the DOJ, FBI, and Citibank where the money is being held. And to top it off, experts say we don't even have enough electricity to meet future demand, especially with the rise of AI data centers. Slashing solar projects now doesn't just hurt the planet, it's a direct hit on energy security and working families and makes our country unprepared for the future. A lot of people have been saying lately that the climate is not a top issue. I could not disagree more, and I know that you all feel the same, so here's what I want you to do. Make your voice heard and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us what you think about this news and sound off with your thoughts on the climate. I'll be reading all of the comments. We're going to stay focused on climate issues here at MeidasTouch. Ben, back to you.
All right, then bring on the guy from the Real World Road Rules Challenge, Sean Duffy. Sean Duffy says, the bottom line is, now that I'm taking over NASA, they have this clown, this joker, taking over NASA now. We're not going to focus on climate. We're focusing on exploration, okay? We're going to build nuclear reactors on the moon, okay? Yeah, you're not going to get your health care. You're not going to get affordable housing or affordable prices, but we're talking about nuclear reactors on the moon, everybody. Here, play this clip.
But all the climate science and all of the other priorities that the last administration had at NASA, we're going to move aside, and all of the science that we do is going to be directed towards exploration, which is the mission of NASA. That's why we have NASA, is to explore, not to do all of these earth sciences.
That is incredible. Look, I've said in the past that President Trump is the most consequential president we've ever seen.
100%.
I can honestly say this administration is the most consequential administration. What you're doing, congratulations, what you're doing on the moon and for Mars. And this is a national defense story. And
this guy's such a joke. And then he attacks Pete Buttigieg. That's their go-to. It's Buttigieg's fault. DEI, Donald Trump, wow. A bunch of Reagan babies. Here, play this clip.
By the way, the last administration, they knew this, Maria, and they didn't do a damn thing to fix it. Right? Pete Buttigieg was running for president as opposed to doing his job and making sure that we got our air traffic control system modernized and functioning. And so we're 3,000 controllers short. This is not a snap your fingers and fix it, because it takes time to train controllers.
Then they bring on MAGA Republican Congress member James Comer. And James Comer says, I'm going to be disappointed if Pam Bondi doesn't arrest Adam Schiff. Yeah, we got to focus right now on arresting Adam Schiff, everybody. We're not going to forget about the Epstein files, okay? By the way, we know that Trump's meeting with Putin is about Trump and Putin trying to distract from the Epstein files. All this stuff you're doing is a distraction from the Epstein files, but play Comer. Let's play it.
Glad President Trump pointed at Pam Bondi and said, I hope you do something about it, because the power lies within the Department of Justice now to hold these people accountable. And if they're allowed to get away with this, I'm going to be disappointed. My colleagues on the House Oversight Committee are going to be disappointed. And everybody in America that's watched Fox News and other conservative networks over the past 4 years are going to be disappointed. So I'm optimistic. When you talk about Adam Schiff, not only is this coming to light that he leaked classified data, that he colluded with the media to try to create a false narrative to hurt our president of the United States, to hurt our foreign policy, to influence the elections, but he's also involved in a mortgage scam. So I think that the walls are closing in on Adam Schiff, and I think the Department of Justice has ample evidence now to move forward and hold Adam Schiff accountable for the many crimes that he's committed.
Yeah, by the way, I would argue this.
Let me just show you what vile trash Fox is. I mean, they have their guests right now calling Zoran Mandami. It's likely going to be the next mayor of New York. Very popular there. They call him an animal. They said, we need to get this animal gone. This is what the Fox says, and they're just okay with it, calling Zoran an animal. How disgusting. Here, play this clip.
New York should want Sliwa, but right now there is no logical reason to believe this animal, he's an animal, is not going to win.
And just lastly,
I think people are just going to be afraid right now, but at the end of the day, Sid, I'm telling you, people are going to be petrified. Come November, they're going to make that change. They're going to make that change.
We will see, because this is not a New York story. This is a national story. The next generation seems to like socialism, and I don't like that.
Okay. Then they bring on MAGA Republican Senator from Oklahoma, Mark Wayne Mullin. And Mark Wayne Mullin says that the male mayor of DC, he is very racist. He's a very racist person. Mark Wayne Mullin got his black mayors confused. He was attacking the black mayor of Baltimore, but thought that the black mayor of Baltimore was the black mayor of Washington, D.C., Mayor Bowser. Here, play this clip.
Yeah, the left media and the leaders in the Washington, D.C., especially and I will say this, the very racist mayor, and people may get eyebrows when I raise that, but he's the one that brings in race into the conversation. So he's the one that's pointing the fingers at it. And when you point one finger, you got three pointing back at you. But for him to say that and flat out lie to the American people, he knows exactly what's happening. Crime is not down. The lack of prosecution is down. They don't allow the prosecuting attorneys to actually prosecute. They've taken all the felonies and they've dropped them down to dang near misdemeanors, and they don't even write the tickets on them. Violations don't even exist in Washington, D.C. Traffic laws don't hardly exist in Washington, D.C. So it's an absolute lie what they're telling the American people. They just don't enforce law and order in Washington, D.C. That's the only reason why crime is down.
So Maggie Habermas,
here's just a photo. Baltimore mayor, D.C. mayor. Baltimore mayor, D.C. mayor. Mark Wayne Mullin, you may be telling on yourself right there. But then Greg Gutfeld, MAGA Republican propagandist on Fox, he's telling on himself. He's like, look, I'd love to move to Florida right now. I'd love to get out of New York. I'm stuck here because I work at Fox, and Fox is based in New York. So I can't move. Pity me. I'm a millionaire stuck in New York. Here, play this clip.
No, sir, you're not. You know, it's really hard to do this topic because it just makes everybody in the rest of the country happy and relieved that they're not in New York, or else they're like, who cares? I don't care about this guy. You know, it's on us for living here, but we didn't choose to live here either. We can't move. We would move. I would love to go to West Palm Beach or Nashville, but unfortunately Fox is here. So we're kind of stuck here. So if you're tired of our whining, we're tired of it too, because I don't know how anything that we actually say changes this, because it's this small nut of lefties that control this vote. It's like, if those people split the vote, we're going to hand the most popular city in the world to people who actually hate the West.
And back to Caroline Levitt here. Caroline Levitt then is asked, so Caroline, is crime down 30%? Because if crime's down 30% in Washington, D.C., there wouldn't seem to be an emergency. But Donald Trump is now saying that the crime being down 30% number is fake data, and that the real issue is that crime is up. And Caroline Levitt, she gets her talking points, her propaganda mixed up here. And so she's like, no, crime's down 30%. Wrong talking point, Caroline, because if it's down 30%, you don't need the National Guard and the military in Washington, D.C. Hint, hint, hint. Is that not on your notes, Caroline? Here, play this clip.
Caroline, I know that the president can do this for 30 days if he notifies the right committees in Congress, which he did. There were some stories the Democrats were spreading the narrative. We don't need the National Guard in there because crime has gone down around 30%, 26%, I think, this past year, and 35% the year before that. And then we heard those numbers might be inaccurate. They might be false. And some people were let go or they were suspended, right, Brian, from their jobs because of it. Can you clear that up for us? Are those numbers correct?
Yeah, these numbers are absolutely correct, and we will continue to provide the American public and the press with the numbers because we're proud of these efforts. If the Democrats had their way, there would be hundreds more criminals roaming free in the streets of the District of Columbia right now. There would be hundreds of more illegal aliens who this task force has already detained and arrested. And now they are focused on deporting from our country. Those individuals would remain in the District of Columbia where they would have been free to do more harm. And that's not counting all of the would-be criminals that may have committed violent crimes and maybe taken the lives of law-abiding residents of this city, if not for the deterrence.
And then finally, let me just show you what clowns these Fox hosts are. So you've got this guy, Cain. Remember I showed you this video yesterday where Democratic State Representative James Tallarico crushed this guy. He embarrassed the Fox host on air. And then the Fox host is like, can we go to commercial break? I don't know what I'm going to say. So they went to commercial break after Tallarico came with the facts that it's the Republicans who are doing the unlawful gerrymandering, that Texas started the unlawful gerrymandering first, that Democrats want legislation to ban gerrymandering that Republicans oppose, that when Republicans say, oh, Massachusetts is gerrymandered so bad, there was a Republican governor in Massachusetts who signed that map, a Republican. So now, though, when James Tallarico, the state representative, is not on the show, now this just shows you what a coward this guy Cain is. Then Cain goes and attacks James Tallarico. And he's like, this guy, he doesn't have balls. He doesn't have testicles. I mean, it's so weird. Here, play this clip.
And if that wasn't enough, what Tallarico did on social media was deceptively edit our 10-minute conversation into about 70 seconds of what he thinks are slam dunks, what I think are clearly lies, with no response from me. And makes it look like we said goodbye. It's short on time. We have to go. We have to run. I gave Tallarico 2 more minutes after telling him we're tight against time. He used that time like Jill Biden to talk about breakfast tacos if that makes him a Texan. Where I come from, being a Texan is someone with a steel spine and something between their knees, between their legs. That something gives you the integrity to tell the truth. Now, I don't know what the voters of Round Rock, Texas think about what it means to be a Texan, but if Tallarico is any evidence, it means being a fraud. A fake man of the cloth. Someone who's as comfortable lying as he is breathing, or as comfortable lying as he is running to Illinois. I will say one thing. Mark Cuban is right when he posted on X. James Tallarico is going to go as far in politics as he wants to go. He is good. He is a good politician, is defined by his ability to lie. And I have no doubt that will make him a star, Cuban, as a Democrat. But what I also think it makes him is an absolute fraudulent man of the cloth. An absolute fraudulent man of God, somebody without integrity, somebody without honor, and somebody who has the inability to tell the truth, who lies the entire time he runs to Illinois.
There you have it, folks. Fox is tripping out on air. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.